Welcome back to Love in Life, a guide to a positive mindset. This episode is the second instalment of my overwhelm focus this month. But first, before we get into that, I just want to apologise for no episode last week. There's been lots going on. Nothing much to report. There's just been so much going on. Although we did go to Disneyland. If you follow me on my social media, then you would have seen that we went to Disneyland as a family over the weekend, which was lovely. We got back on Tuesday. It was just lovely to spend some time all together, just the four of us, not worrying about anything. And I love Disney. If you followed me for a long time, you'll know that I am a huge Disneyland fan. Like, Disneyland is my happy place. I would go back every year if I was allowed. And today I have been to watch Wicked with my sister. I finally got around to seeing it. Must have been out for a month now nearly, and I haven't seen it yet. Well, I have now obviously, but yeah, it's my favourite musical. So I was very excited to hear that it was going to be out in the cinema. I was a little bit unsure of how I felt about watching the film, but it was amazing. So if you haven't seen it yet, go and see it. It is amazing. It was definitely better than I thought it was going to be. So let's get into this week's episode. So last time I talked about how to try and avoid feeling overwhelmed. But of course, Christmas, December, it's a busy month. And I'd be surprised if any single one of you listening doesn't feel overwhelmed at some point this month. Now, this week, I just want to focus a little bit more on how to notice if you are feeling overwhelmed, because sometimes we don't realise that we're feeling it, and then all our emotions build up and we have a meltdown, and we don't want that. So I've just written down a few signs to look out for that you might be feeling overwhelmed. And just bear these in mind. You might not be feeling them now, but just bear them in mind, because if you do start to notice some of these things, then it's worth just paying a little bit of attention to yourself and what you need. Okay, so the first sign that I wanted to talk about is feeling emotional. And obviously we all get emotional, especially if you have periods, or if you are menopausal, perimenopausal, pregnant. Who doesn't get emotional? We are hormonal beings. So obviously we are going to get emotional, but it's important to notice when these are down to hormones and when these are down to overwhelm, when these emotional feelings are down to overwhelm. So knowing your body and your system and your cycle is as important as ever, just so as you know that it's okay, it's hormones. It kind of just makes things a little bit better, doesn't it? When you know it's hormones, you know it will pass. So if this is not the case, if you are not hormonal, if the reason for you being emotional is not down to hormones, you might just burst into tears. You might feel angry. You might feel anxious when it's a situation where you wouldn't normally. You might feel irritable. You might feel overly tired. So these are just a few emotions that could be a sign that you're overwhelmed. Now, following on from that, the second sign that you might be feeling overwhelmed is irrational behaviour. So, it does follow on from those emotions. So if you find yourself behaving irrationally, if, something stresses you out more than it normally would, somebody annoys you more than they normally would, if you just find yourself flying off the handle, this is a sign that you are feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Again, obviously, this feeling irrational can also be linked to our cycles, our hormones. So just, again, knowing your body, knowing your cycle really, really helps. So as you know if it's down to hormones or not, or if it's down to feeling overwhelmed. Another sign of overwhelm is feeling like you have got so much to do and you're never going to get it done. And when we've got a massive to-do list, we might find that we are unable to focus on one particular task. Like, overwhelm can make us procrastinate. So it might make us feel like we have to do that thing and that thing and that thing, and you start that thing, and before you finished it you move on to the next thing because you feel like you have to do it straight away, and then before you finish that you move on to the next thing. Obviously being able to stay focused is quite a big requirement when you've got lots to do. If you feel that you're unable to stay focused on a task, if you are procrastinating, if you feel like you can't concentrate, then that could be a sign that you're feeling overwhelmed. The next thing, which I find I do this a lot, is avoidance. So if there's something that you know you need to do, but you're doing everything else but that one thing. Again, I guess that's part of procrastination. But when you know that getting that one thing done is going to help you out massively, but you're avoiding it, and the avoidance is what is leading you to feel overwhelmed, overworked, overstretched, and like you've taken on too much. Now, it's really I kind of touched on this last week, but it's really important to prioritise what it is that actually needs doing. Like that thing that you're stressing about, that thing that you are avoiding, does it really need doing? If you've avoided it for this long, can it wait a little bit longer? And if you allow yourself to wait a bit longer, give yourself permission, then that should stop you feeling quite so overwhelmed about it. Excessive worry about things. I'm not a worrier, but I know when I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I find myself worrying about everything, overthinking everything, expecting not the worst. I don't want to say expecting the worst to happen because I don't tend to do that, but feeling negative thoughts towards it, or just in general. Just worry. It's like the feeling of worrying about what's going to happen. And in particular, if you are not the worrying kind in general, then obviously this is a sign of you feeling overwhelmed. And then some of the physical signs that we can be feeling overwhelmed are things like headaches. So headaches are most of the time down to feeling stressed, feeling overwhelmed, feeling anxious. Like if you don't tend to get headaches, and again, it's not linked to hormones that you know is hormones, then that can be a sign. Any pains, any feelings that weren't there in your body before and have just started coming on, and you notice yourself feeling worried, feeling like you're avoiding things, feeling emotional, then listen to the signs that your body is giving you. It might make you feel, if you're feeling overwhelmed, it might make you feel dizzy. It might start to raise your blood pressure. You might find yourself not being able to sleep at night. And obviously all of these things they almost form like a negative cycle that is hard to get out of. So if you are noticing any of these things, then just listen to what your body needs. Is it because you're feeling overwhelmed? So if you've noticed that you're feeling any of these things, the emotion, the irrational behaviour, unable to stay focused, procrastinating, avoiding things, worrying, and any of those physical signs, then a few things you can do. So it's okay to delegate. I know, again, I talked about this in last week's episode, but it's okay to delegate. It's okay to write a list and work out who can do what to help you. It's okay to say no to things. We often feel that we have to say yes to everything and worry about upsetting people if we don't do things they want us to do, or if we can't help a particular person. You know, we take on too much. I know I'm very, very guilty of that. But it's okay to say no. I'm saying that to myself. It's also okay to change your mind. So if you've agreed to do something, if you've agreed to have people over, if you've agreed to go somewhere, if you've agreed to do something for somebody, it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to say, do you know what? I'm feeling really overwhelmed by everything. I'm feeling really overworked. I'm feeling knackered. It's okay to change your mind, and it's okay to be honest about that. Be truthful about why you're changing your mind. If you've said yes to something that you didn't really want to, you don't need to say it as brutally as that, but you can say something like, do you know what? I said yes, but I didn't realize how much I had to do, and I just can't fit it in. That's okay. You can do some simple breathwork exercises. And one of my favorite things to do, if you notice that you are like, if your blood pressure is getting high, or if you are feeling panicked, if you are struggling to breathe, if, do you know what I mean? Like, obviously I should have said that actually in physical symptoms as well, because that is quite a big one. Like noticing that your breath is getting faster, that is obviously a sign as well of overwhelm. But my favourite simple breathwork exercise is box breathing. So that's where you breathe in for 4. I can do this on the camera, but if you're listening, then, just imagine the box. So breathe in for 4, hold at the top for 4, breathe out for 4, and then hold for 4, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4, and just keep repeating that until you can feel your heart rate slowing down. So that would go something like this. And on the out breath, it's really important to let out as much air as you possibly can, like really feel your lungs emptying, and make sure you breathe from the tummy as well. Like a lot of people, this is one thing I'm learning with all the breath work that I'm training that I'm doing, is people don't realize that you are supposed to breathe from the tummy. So, we've all been trained to hold your tummy in. I don't know where that's come from, but when you breathe in, it should go, your belly should expand, your chest should expand. So it kind of goes like your belly up to your chest. And just try doing that now. If you try breathing just using your chest, your lungs, you can't take in as much air. Whereas if you breathe in through your tummy, so like feel your tummy going out when you breathe in, you can take in more air. Okay, so next thing you can do is to carve out some time for yourself. And I did mention this last week, but this can't be mentioned too much. But set some time aside, but also be aware, this whole episode is actually about what to do when you notice the signs of being overwhelmed. So you should make sure that you have time set aside. But when you are feeling overwhelmed, obviously the most important thing to do is to take time for yourself, and whatever that looks like for you. So it could be having a bath. It could be just sitting down for half an hour with a cup of tea. It could be watching something on the TV. It could be going out for a little walk. It could be going out with a friend for a coffee. Take time for yourself where you haven't got to worry about everything you've got to do, which actually leads me on to the next thing that you can do when you're feeling overwhelmed, which is talk to somebody. We feel like we have to do everything. As I've already said, we feel like we have to do everything. We feel like we have to be Wonder Women. And it's okay to tell people when you are feeling stressed and overwhelmed. Because if your nearest and dearest don't realise that's how you're feeling, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty good at masking that. So if you are as well, then your partner isn't going to know that you're feeling overwhelmed. Your parents, your children, if you've got older children, tell people that's how you're feeling. If you can speak to a friend, telling people how you are feeling is quite often like such a relief, like to get it off your chest. So if you can talk to somebody about how you're feeling, not only is it going to feel like a relief, but they might offer to help you. They might say, oh my God, I did not realize you were feeling like that. What can I do to help? And finally, the last thing that you can do is to join me on my group session, which is all about overwhelm. And the reason why I have chosen December, or the reason why I've chosen overwhelm to focus on this month, is because it is such an overwhelming month. There is so much to do and we feel like we have to do it all. Like I said earlier, we are all going to feel overwhelmed at some point. So why not treat yourself to 45 minutes with me where you can just forget about all that. And I promise you, you will forget about all of that. And you will leave feeling calmer, more relaxed. You'll probably get a good night's sleep because there's Reiki involved as well. So why not join me? I've already done one session this month. My next one is on Sunday, the 22nd of December at 2:00 UK time. And the reason, as always, the reason why I do my sessions in the afternoon is so as you guys in the US can join me. I know the East Coast is like 5 hours behind us. So that means you can get up in the morning, feel more calm and relaxed before your day gets going. So I've got the one on the 22nd, and the one after that is the 28th, which is Saturday, again at 2 p.m. So these cost £22, 22.22, because I always like to make sure it's angel numbers. They're 22.22, and it's 45 minutes of calm and relax and reflection and meditation and Reiki. And like I said, I promise you that you will leave me feeling more calm and relaxed. So I will pop the link to that in the show notes. I'm just going to end this episode by saying, look out for those signs that I've mentioned. Again, I'll go over them very quickly. The emotions, the irrational behaviour, the inability to stay focused and concentrate on something, avoiding tasks that you know you need to do, worrying, and then the physical signs of headaches, pains that aren't normally there, dizziness, lack of sleep, high blood pressure or high heart rate. And that's not to say, I better just add this in, that's not to say that the reason why you're having those things is because of overwhelm, but they can be a sign of overwhelm. If you're worried about any of those things, please, please, please go and see your doctor, okay? Because even if it is linked to overwhelm, like those things, if you're worried, those things can lead on to other things. So just if you're worried, go and see a doctor. But I hope to see you on one of my sessions. I'm going to leave it there. Have an amazing week. We are very, very close to Christmas now. It's like a week away, less than a week away by the time this goes out. I'm going to love you and leave you. And I do send you so much love and so much joy and festive wishes. Thanks for listening. Bye.